I'm hoping for a World War III. I'm hoping for total nuclear proliferation. I'm so done with this world and I'm so done with this life. It's a life of misery. Like earlier today, bro, I was literally just thinking to myself, when's the last time that the earth has been at peace? Like this whole world. When's the last time the earth had no world wars? The earth had no types of conflicts. There was no type of people trying to neutralize each other, trying to take out another nation. When was the last time that's happened? All throughout history, even the days of Alexander the Great, the days of Julius Caesar, the days of the Roman emperors in their prime, even the days before then, the days of Achilles, the days of Hercules, the days of the giants, the days of the monsters, the days of the mythical spirits and beings and entities. Even in those days, there were always war. You can even look at, spiritual god mythologies, how Zeus, in the Greek mythology, how Zeus had to overthrow Kronos. Because Kronos was the father of Zeus, and Zeus had to, basically war against the primordial gods. You know, you look at the metaphysical and the spiritual realm. There's war. You talk about the Christian Bible, and it talks about the devil, how Satan there was a war in heaven. How can an almighty perfect God have a war in his heaven? That sounds like there's something more. There's more to that. That's how we know this guy's the demiurge. But all this conflict is all orchestrated. It's all organized chaos. There's a hidden hand that controls everything, and these beings and entities, they love to feed off our negative energies. I'm gonna keep reinforcing that till it gets drilled in people's heads so they understand, so they will stop blaming themselves and stop thinking that this life is fair, or they had a fair shot in life. There's a reason why this world is like this. There's a reason why you always want that girl that you always wanted, and yet you can never get her. But you see somebody else with her and he gets her easy. Have you ever seen somebody who you know you know, if like let's say you're walking somewhere and you see like a couple and you're like, damn, if I was in that position right now, that would make me so happy. It'll make me want to go harder in life and all that. But then it's like there's people that work hard, right? You can work hard your entire life, but you have to meet the right people and have the right connections to really get the real success, especially nowadays. Just going to school, getting a regular job, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. And plus this looming war is going to cause inflation over everything. And I'll tell you guys this, just be very careful if you're out and about. Stay away from crowded places. Stay away from things like that, because what the United States, was what the United States did, or really what the elites did, they probably got sleeper cells, sleeper agents. It's going to respond. It's going to probably have a response, so if you know what I mean. So if you're in like crowded areas, you're in areas where people could, like certain attacks can happen. Just keep your head on a swivel and keep your ears open and make sure you're watching. you know that's part of the reason, man. I love being a NEET at one time. Not gonna say I love being a NEET, but part of the reason I was NEET is like I knew the world outside was a dangerous, and it's a very dangerous, evil, strange place. Remember, one of my quotes when I was a black pill villain was, people stay in their room because outside the room is a doom, and it's the truth. The world is always infested by war. The war is always consumed by the flames of destruction and corruption. And we're seeing it right now in real time. The United States will spend billions and trillions of dollars to its favorite ally. We already know what the favorite ally is, the Shekels and the Shekels. The United States will spend billions of dollars, giving it to those people so they can cause destabilization of the Middle East, and ultimately destabilization of the world, since we are a globally connected world, meaning that whatever happens in Iran is going to have ripple effects in America. Iran or whatever is not just some lost land far away. And Iran has a very interesting and magical history. The Persian Empire has a very interesting and long history. There's all type of underground civilizations and portals and genies and jinn. Like, I mean, I'm gonna get too deep in that, but yeah, man, it's interesting. But I'm just saying, bro, I kind of want something interesting to happen in this world because guys like us in our position, bro. we're only going to thrive in chaos. You know what I mean? And what I mean by chaos is when the system that keeps us held back is broken down, and we're able to live like how you did, like how you live when you play Fallout. Like you play Fallout in Vegas, Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. Imagine living life like that. That's gonna be crazy, right? But at least you're gonna, at least all these thoughts and these bops, you know, they're gonna have to, maybe lower their standards. Maybe women are gonna start, selling that kitty cat for a little snack, for a little sandwich, or maybe if you're a man, you go hunting, you hunt some deer or whatever, and she, and you give her a piece of, deer meat or wild game meat, and she gives you, some of her private parts, right? So yeah, man, I don't know, but I just think that once that happens, all these normies and NPCs, they're gonna see how real life gets. See, guys like us in this position, we understand what life is. We like, cause life, we understand that when you're a grown person, when you're somebody that never made it or achieved it, you have a evil entity, the demiurge, is actively trying to stop you from being happy. We understand this world's a hell realm. There's normies that don't understand that still. Like to this day, there's normies that don't understand it. They think that this is a loving, caring realm made by a loving, caring God, and that's not the case, and it's not true. The God of this realm, whoever created this realm, is an evil thing. How can a God create a realm like this and still call itself holy and mighty? It's fucking stupid. The God of this world is Sokolos the Blind One. You know, look at your life. How comes God wants you miserable? Ask this God, why do you want me miserable? Who are you? And then all you get is silence. You don't get a response. That should tell you all. That should tell you everything that you need to know right there. You pray, you talk, because any God that's transparent, any good God that's transparent, will respond with clarity. And it's funny when it comes to the biblical God, the clarity is rarity when it comes to proving His existence. But when there's nuclear eradication, if nuclear eradication happens, then all these norms are going to break. They're going to cry. They're going to just go crazy. I mean, a lot of us probably going to go crazy as well, but due to all the pent-up frustration and anger, right? When you go years without having that female, man, it does something to you, bro. I was reading studies on this, like the psychology of a man that goes a decade without any type of touch from a woman or whatever, any type of sexual alleviation. Of course you're gonna be able to wank off, but to actually, wanking off and hitting it from the back and making that nanny smack, that's a totally different type of thing. So it's a totally different ball game. And when you go years without having that, that does something to you. It lowers your confidence, it lowers your self-esteem, it makes you think less of yourself because people are going to think less of you. So when people think less of you, you're going to think less of yourself. It's a brutal world, bro. It's evil, wicked, and sadistic. This world wasn't created by some good, loving God, you know? And yet people still get on their knees and they worship it. It's like you're worshiping it. It's feeding off your worship. Can't you see that? This God has done nothing for you. And then when like one little tiny thing goes quote unquote kind of right in your life, then you give credit to this God immediately. When things go bad and hellacious in your life, you want to act like, oh, well, it's just part of God's plan. It's like, what plan? Why does a God's plan require suffering? That's a huge red flag right there. A true God's plan should never include no suffering. Unless this God is evil and wicked. And why does God try to this God tries to gaslight us that we should be corporate slaves to the system. We should be waking up every day and at the 9 to 5, and that's all we should be doing. That makes no sense. Why would a God not want you to express yourself in a creative fashion? God, like why? Why would a God stop you from creativity? Why would a God want you in a position where you can't even feed yourself, in a position where you have no type of wealth, power, or influence? That's a God you want to worship? Fuck that God, bro. I want to do to this God of the Bible what Kratos did to Zeus in God of War 3. And I guarantee I'll escape its evil hell of eternity.